Imagine you're dying to marry a gorgeous girl, and to make it happen, you're willing to do anything, including saving her brother's life by letting the demon that's possessing him hop into you instead. What would you do in that situation? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you in how to defeat the Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Today's video, I'll break this down and give you the best tips to send the devil packing. The story kicks off in a house in the middle of Connecticut where we meet an 8-year-old kid named David Glatzel. Thing is, the poor kid is possessed, but the devil's working part-time hours because he only takes over David for a few hours a day. To try to help, the Warrens call the Catholic Church, which sends Father Gordon to handle the mess. We also meet David's sister, Debbie, and her boyfriend, Arnie. Arnie's really close to David and keeps telling him everything's gonna be fine. Father Gordon arrives at the house in style, in a scene that either pays homage to or straight up copies The Exorcist. But it's too late because the demon just clocked in for his shift and starts tormenting David in the bathroom. The kid quickly goes full demonic and the priest says they'll have to take him back to the church for the ritual. But wait, what if you already took a cab out to the house? Wouldn't it have been smarter for the Warrens to just bring the kid to the church in the first place? Anyway, forget that. Because Scar from The Lion King must have taken over since David gets dragged to the living room, clawing the walls like a maniac. With the possession escalating, Ed Warren decides they'll have to perform the exorcism right there in the house. Here's the rookie mistake. They don't clear the room first. And if there's one thing you should know, it's that the devil never leaves without wrecking the place. That means he'll use whatever's lying around as weapons against anyone who interferes. Tell me you haven't seen demons slam doors shut in these movies just to split people up? Exactly. That's why you always clear the room before a ritual. No plates, no glasses, no curtains, no doors. Less stuff for the devil to turn into projectiles. Since they don't follow my advice, David starts twisting his body like a Soviet ballerina, making the ritual harder. And if that's not enough, the demon launches a whole set of dishes, and one of them knocks the priest out cold. Ed realizes he has to take over the exorcism himself, while Lorraine starts having creepy visions of witchcraft, hinting that someone might actually be controlling the demon. Things spiral out of control fast. David pulls a special move straight out of Mortal Kombat and squeezes Ed's chest so hard he nearly has a heart attack. And I gotta ask, how did no one think to just tie the kid up with some chains? Guess not, because David starts levitating, sending everyone running for the back door. In a panic, Arnie begs the demon to leave David and enter him instead. The little devil likes the deal and takes it. The only one who witnesses this supernatural Pawn Stars trade is Ed, but since he's about to keel over, he can't warn anyone and passes out. Beating this movie would have been easy if Arnie had just used 10 extra IQ points and told Lorraine about what happened. Everyone knew she was the badass demonologist in the house. If she'd been aware, she could have kept an eye on him and started an exorcism the second things got sketchy. Because in possession flicks, it's always the same. The demon feeds off its host until it's strong enough to spread chaos. That means time is everything. An exorcism at the start is way easier than waiting till the host is fully taken. But nope. Fast forward a month later and we see Arnie chilling with Debbie, planning to propose. They plan to move from that boring town and go to the big city, which makes Arnie to work 7 days a week. Problem is, while chopping down a tree, he senses danger and spots a creepy hag watching him from inside a house. When he turns back, she's gone. Out of nowhere, his chainsaw starts up by itself and nearly takes him out. Feeling off, Arnie heads over to Debbie's job. She works at a kennel full of dogs, owned by Bruno, an obnoxious Aussie who won't stop annoying everyone. Unfortunately, that's when Arnie learns the hard way that the demon isn't a fan of casual touch. Instead, the evil starts creeping back, and Arnie begins to lose control fast. That's when Ed finally wakes up in the hospital, still in shock, and tells Lorraine to call the cops on Arnie, revealing that the curse jumped into him. The demon messes with Arnie's head, making him hallucinate Bruno getting a little too cozy with Debbie, who seems way too into the Aussie sausage. Suddenly, the lights go out and Arnie sees a horrifying creature charging at him. Of course, he bolts and grabs a knife to defend himself. The thing attacks, but Arnie goes full knife festival on it, stabbing away until the demon drops. Moments later, Arnie snaps out of it and finds himself standing in the middle of a road just as a police car drives by. The cop pulls over and asks if he's okay, which he's clearly not since he's covered in human ketchup and admits he thinks he hurt someone. Yeah, safe to say say Bruno won't be heading back to Australia. Arna's accused of murder, but he swears to the Warrens that he only saw the creature and acted in self-defense. Ed and Lorraine suggest giving him an anti-demon test, basically reading the Bible to see if the evil spirit gets triggered. Weirdly, nothing happens, but Lorraine's not falling for the same trick as in the second movie. She tells Ed that she's convinced Arna was actually possessed, and the two of them come up with a bold idea: use demonic possession as his legal defense. The problem is, Arnie's lawyer says that's never been done in the US, and that the justice system won't accept testimony from the church as evidence. She flat out says she doesn't believe in any of that mumbo jumbo, and asks Lorraine if she can prove demons are real. But the Warrens don't back down that easily. They invite her over to their place for a little Annabelle-inspired weekend dinner. Sure enough, come Monday, the lawyer shows up in court dressed like a devout believer, clearly shaken by whatever she saw at the Warrens' house. She pleads Arnie's case, arguing he's innocent because of demonic possession, but she warns him that the jury might still push for the maximum sentence, meaning a date with God after a trip to the electric chair. So now the Warrens are racing against the clock to gather evidence proving that Arnie really was possessed at the time of the crime. Their first lead is investigating David's house. The family had only recently moved in, and his possession started not long after. In a flashback, we see David thinking life's about to get better when he discovers his room has a waterbed. But what he doesn't know is that the furniture's basically a Kinder Surprise. Sweet on the outside, garbage inside. Turns out a demon Freddy Krueger wannabe drags him under the water. After the near drowning incident, David's family noticed the wooden floor under the bed had rotted. They figured it was just water damage from the mattress. But Lorraine, being a supernatural fangirl, knew it was actually caused by demonic presence. Ed volunteers to check the foundation of the house, but since he's still recovering from his heart issues after that demon nipple twist, Lorraine goes instead. She finds a totem, a satanic witchcraft artifact. Since the church doesn't exactly hand out PhDs in dark magic, Father Gordon refers them to a specialist, ex-priest Kastner, or as I'll call him in this video, Boromir's dad. Boromir's dad lives out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. He explains that he left the church because he didn't agree with the way they handled the dark arts. Ever since, he's basically become a collector of satanic curses and occult junk, keeping them locked away so they don't fall into the wrong hands. Lorraine's clearly shaken by the negative energy of the place and asks why on earth he doesn't just destroy all the artifacts. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. This is the same woman who runs a full-on haunted museum inside the very house where her daughter sleeps. Anyway, Boromir's dad explains that the Warrens are dealing with the cult of Ram, or let's just call it in English, the Goat Guts cult. Remember that creepy demon from all three Annabelle movies? Turns out the same crew that bound the demon to the doll is also connected to the curse left under David's house. The Warrens learn that police in Danvers are investigating a similar case. A girl named Jessica was found dead, and her friend Katie has gone missing. At the police station, the detective explains that Katie came home for college break, and without realizing it, brought back a totem almost identical to the one found at David's place. The weirdest part? Jessica was stabbed 22 times. The exact same number of stabs Arnie gave to the Aussie Bruno. The only reason the detective even agreed to meet the Warrens is because he wants Lorraine to prove she's the real deal. He sets up a test. If she's truly a badass medium, she'll be able to pick which of the 3 knives on the table was used to kill Jessica. Ed protests, but within seconds, Lorraine points to the right one. That's enough to convince the cop, who takes them to the spot in the woods where Jessica's body was found. There, Lorraine has a vision of the crime, as if she were right there the night it happened. She sees Katie being possessed and stabbing Jessica. After realizing the horror of what she'd done, Katie fled into the woods and fell into a reservoir. Problem is, Lorraine starts mirroring Katie's movements during her vision and almost throws herself into the water too. And here's the crazy part. Ed's not supposed to exert himself because of his heart condition, which means the cop should have been the one keeping Lorraine safe. But nope, the guy just stands around enjoying the view, leaving poor half-dead Ed to do the heavy lifting. Ed manages to stop Lorraine from falling in, but then a demon grabs her foot and nearly drags her under anyway. Meanwhile, Arnie gets a visit from David and Debbie, who ask how he's doing. David takes one look and realizes Arnie's showing the same symptoms he had while possessed. Overwhelming chills and voices telling him to end it all. Worried, they call the Warrens, who tell them to contact the prison chaplain. The priest visits Arna's cell and hands him a vial of holy water. Arna decides to draw a circle around himself and pray like his life depends on it, because he knows the demon is closing in. Here's the thing, the priest could have helped the guy in two better ways. First, by giving him some salt. Tons of cultures believe salt repels spirits and demons. Instead of holy water, Arna could have spread salt around the cell, which honestly would have been more effective. Second, why give him the water in a glass bottle? That's just handing over a potential weapon for self-harm. A plastic container, a cloth pouch, literally anything else would have been safer. And of course, the demon shows up and makes Arna smash the glass bottle, trying to force him into self-destruction. Luckily, at that same moment, Lorraine touches Katie's recovered body and has a vision of a woman, wrinkled and evil-looking, performing dark rituals at an altar. Lorraine channels a spell of light to block the witch from making Arn finish himself off. But that exposes her presence, and now the witch knows Lorraine's watching. She uses the same psychic connection to strike back at the Warrens. The witch summons a corpse to attack Lorraine. Think Max Cavalera back from the dead. Lorraine is still holding Katie's hand. Thankfully, Ed reacts fast and yanks his wife away, breaking the connection. Back home, the couple try to figure out what the witch is really after. Flipping through dusty occult encyclopedias, they find the Strigarian book, which explains that Arnie's curse can only be broken by destroying the witch's altar. Now the challenge is finding her lair. After a long day, Ed decides to take a nap. When he wakes up, the house is empty. Suddenly, he comes face to face with the wrinkled witch, who taunts him not to stop searching, since he's so close to finding her. But it's a trick, because she summons the corpse again to attack him. Ed raises a crucifix, driving the thing back. But then he realizes he's actually being manipulated. The witch's illusion nearly made him stab Lorraine instead of the monster. Shaken, Ed searches the house for a totem and notices a bouquet of rotten flowers on the desk. He smashes the vase and finds the curse hidden inside. Turns out those flowers were delivered to him right after he got out of the hospital. Since nobody messes with her man, Lorraine starts recalling details from the spot where she faced the witch. She remembers hearing a train passing by, and based on the schedule and the locations of the possessions, the clueless trio tries to triangulate where the witch is hiding. Meanwhile, Lorraine tells Ed she's going back to Boromir's dad because there's a passage in the book written in Aramaic, and he's the only one who can translate it to see if there's a way to find the altar. Back at the prison, Debbie stays with Arnie, who's been sedated after trying to snack on some broken glass. Unfortunately, the priest says the nurses pulled him off sedation, meaning Arnie will wake up in a few hours. At that point, Debbie really should have been smarter and slipped him some sleeping pills. Think about it. If the host is sedated, the demon can't fully take control. Even if it does, the body won't respond at 100%. So yeah, Debbie could have accidentally spiked his water with a couple of pills and made him doze right back off. Meanwhile, Ed and his rookie sidekick finally track down the area where the witch might be doing her dark rituals. Ed realizes Lorraine could be in danger. Speaking of Lorraine, she meets with Boromir's dad again. He translates the Aramaic passage, which says the witch needs to curse 3 pure souls to complete the ritual: a child, a lover, and a man of faith. That basically means David, Katie, and Ed. Since Arn swapped places with David, the demon latched onto him, and it's only a matter of time before it comes for both him and Ed. Boromir's dad finally admits his dark little secret. He had a daughter named Isla. Her mother died in childbirth, so he raised her in that same house. Unlike normal kids who get a Peppa Pig doll for Christmas, Isla grew up playing with Daddy's stash of cursed artifacts in the basement. And surprise, surprise, she became a full-blown witch.
Oh my god!
Lorraine realizes the witch is upstairs and starts panicking, but Boromir's dad reveals a hidden passage under the house and tells her to follow it to Isla's altar. The old man stays behind with a pistol, ready to finish the job once and for all. Problem is, he's way behind on the latest in dark magic, so Isla sneaks up and stabs him without mercy. Honestly, wouldn't it have made more sense for him to go with Lorraine and ambush the witch when she tried to stop her from smashing the altar? Meanwhile, Lorraine struggles to move the stone covering the altar. either. She's no CrossFit champ, and soon the witch is chasing her down. Ed arrives at the farm and, hearing Lorraine screaming, finds a hidden gate. He smashes it open with a conveniently placed sledgehammer. I get it. They need to destroy the altar to break the curse. But come on, wouldn't it be way easier to just take the witch out? Ed could have exercised his Second Amendment rights and blasted Isla. She's human, no bulletproof vest. Back in the tunnels, Lorraine's dodging Isla's knife swings. Finally, she smashes the witch in the face with a rock. That was her chance to follow the golden rule of this channel. Always finish the job. She should have gone full Walking Dead and bashed her a dozen more times. But no, Lorraine just keeps running like it's a 5K. Then Ed shows up, but he's immediately hit with a demonic pepper cloud and gets possessed again. Now he turns on Lorraine, chasing her through the tunnels with a sledgehammer like some maniac. At the same time, Isla fires up her cauldron again and restarts the process of possessing Arnie. No! Back at the prison, the chaplain tries the Lord's Prayer, but it's useless. Arnie goes full Russian ballerina, breaks his chains, and smashes through the infirmary glass. Why didn't Debbie and the priest tie him down with sheets and chains, just in case? She already saw her brother twisting like a Cirque du Soleil reject earlier in the movie. She knew what demons could do. Now, Arn's fully possessed, ready to stab himself with a shard of glass, until Debbie grabs his arm and stops him. Meanwhile, Lorraine begs Ed not to crush her with the sledgehammer. She reminds him of the very first night they fell in love. Ed looks deep into his heart, snaps out of it, and smashes the witch's altar instead. Isla's left standing there furious as her plan goes up in flames. Before she can recover, the demon comes to collect the soul she promised it. Since Isla failed to complete the curse, the demon repossesses the collateral, her own soul. With Isla gone, Arnie is freed from possession. He goes to trial, gets sentenced to 5 years in prison, and we learn he was released after serving his time. He finally married Debbie, and they're still together today. As for Ed, he makes it up to Lorraine by building her a karaoke stage in their backyard. And to wrap things up, he adds the witch's cauldron of evil to the Warrens' creepy souvenir room, right alongside Annabelle and that lovely portrait of Valak, the demon nun. The Conjuring 3 was a hit with audiences, but critics weren't so kind. They said it fell short compared to the first two films, and I agree. The third movie struggles to build a consistent atmosphere of fear, splitting its story into two, sometimes 3 arcs, which really messes with the pacing. A good horror movie usually follows a clear structure. Start slow with some eerie random events, then escalate into full-blown chaos. Unfortunately, this one never quite nails that rhythm. That said, it's far from a disaster like The Curse of La Llorona or Annabelle Comes Home. The directing is surprisingly solid, especially considering it was helmed by Michael Chavs, the same guy behind La Llorona, which Warner Brothers desperately pretends isn't part of the Conjuring universe. Some of the scares actually land pretty well, like the funeral home scene. And honestly, the performances are the movie's strongest point, especially the actors playing the Warrens and Arnie. So my final rating for The Conjuring 3 is a 7.5. At the box office, it did great, pulling in $207 million on a $40 million budget. It probably would have made even more if it hadn't been released during the pandemic. Still, Warner was hyped enough to greenlight a 4th film. Announced in 2023, it's currently titled The Conjuring: Last Rites, and is supposed to be the final chapter of the saga, though I seriously doubt it. If you want me to do a how to defeat video on that one when it drops, drop a comment saying I want it. And now, no more stalling. Let's get to the body count. The total number of corpses in this movie? 6. And the Golden Corpse Award goes to the witch herself. I hope you liked the video. See you on the next one, and bye.